Hello, everybody, and welcome. Actually, I got to start that again where I don't hit the mic.
Who are you, me?
Right? Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 79 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I am joined, as always, by Coloring Book McScribbles.
On attempts where you reach, I can hear it. And I could definitely hear you reaching on that one, although I'll give you credit. The two sort of halves of that name game were at least consistent with each other and thematically linked.
What are you talking about reaching?
I'm saying I can kind of hear your mental muscles stretching a little bit as you're trying to reach that top shelf and get that joke down.
What are you fucking talking about? I had that one prepped.
You did, huh?
Yes.
A for effort. Big old Comic Sans, you tried star.
Oh, yeah. No, I made a note in my notes to come back to it for the name game, and I forgot to. So I went with Coloring Book McScribbles. However, I think that one, it's appropriate for you because you do a lot of drawing.
This is true.
And two, McScribbles is just a good last name for you.
McScribbles is really good. I'll say McScribbles is good. I do appreciate McScribbles.
Well, I'm glad that you at least appreciate that much. All right, let's get into it, bud. Let's not bandy about this episode.
Okay, this is the episode of no bandying.
Let's not lollygag.
Let's not dawdle.
Let's not play grab ass.
Or maybe let's play some grab ass. We'll see what we get into in the Factor fan fiction segment here.
Alrighty, Auspex, what's on our hobby radar? You know it. You love it. Hobby progress. I didn't take any pictures of them yet because reasons. I finished my infiltrator. I'm getting my I words. My IN words. It's fucking with me. My Intertrader specialists. Finished those two guys. They were the comms guy and the Helix adept from that squad. So I'm ready for them to specialize. And I'm almost done with my first squad of eradicators.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I forgot how much of a pain in the ass it truly, truly is to edge highlight Gravis armor.
Dude, edge highlighting those fucking moon boots is something I'm not looking forward to in my own.
It takes me like 90 minutes at least to edge highlight one model.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And that's just the first pass, or is that both passes?
That's the first pass.
Cool.
Now, the second and third passes are quicker. The second one will probably be on these models close to an hour, and the third pass will probably be half an hour to 45 minutes. So I'm glad they come in threes and not fives. If they ever make a 5-man Gravis squad, well, I mean,
I'll buy 4. But
it'll be like the Astreus all over again. That level of losing my fucking mind. But that's just about it for me.
I'm sorry, Mavis Bavis and the Gravis Astreus is just the thing that came into my mind.
Oh man, we were making up names for my friend's kid. We went camping over last weekend, which is I think, as far as vacations go, one of the more responsible ones you can do in the pandemic hell world.
Yeah.
And we were making up names for his little girl who's there, and their last name is Davis, and so Mavis Davis came up, and we thought that was quite a hoot. I realized that I'm telling you about a joke that you weren't there for.
Yeah, you just did you had to be there joke.
Yeah, and we were drinking a lot of beers, so maybe in hindsight, maybe that's not the funniest thing to bring on the show.
You know what? It's cute. And if I had a few more beers, I might think that was hilarious.
Oh, well, I'm out of beer at my house, so.
Oh, that's a tragedy.
I prepped for this show by drinking a nice cup of tea, which I enjoy tea. I love tea, but I'm not feeling it.
Oh, I had a shot of espresso and I'm now halfway through a dry stout, so I'm mixing my uppers and my downers. I'm having a great time.
There you go. That's how you fucking party, my dude. Speedball. It's like the Campbell version of a speedball.
Yeah, in that it's nowhere near as potent and fortunately won't kill me immediately.
It's not cocaine mixed with heroin.
Yeah, I'm not going to Lane Staley it here. I'm just going to keep myself alert.
Lane Staley. He was in Alice in Chains, right?
Correct.
Is that the singer for Alice in Chains?
Yes, he was the singer from Alice in Chains who died in, I think, 2000 from a speedball
How do we
overdose.
feel about Alice in Chains?
I was like, you may not know this, but I pivoted from being like a metal kid to a grunge kid real hard in high school before like kind of pivoting back to being a metal guy as I reached maturity.
Oh, maturity, huh?
So,
that's what we're calling it?
Yeah. Relative maturity. Yes. But I fucking loved Alice in Chains. There was a good year where I basically just listened to like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and Nine Inch Nails, and I was really sad all the time, and I didn't really think about why until afterwards.
So here's we're gonna have to break down what you just told me because you pivoted from metal to grunge. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as I know, you were born in 1998. So that to me that seems late for grunge.
I was the grunge guy at my high school, yes.
Okay.
We had one goth and we had one grunge guy, and I was that one grunge guy.
Why didn't you go goth?
I already had a friend who was going goth.
I feel like
I didn't want to copy his whole shtick.
I feel like goth is above grunge kid.
I feel like, well, goth is a moving target. Grunge kid is a very specific time period. I was basically cosplaying as a high school student from 1993.
You were into historical music scene.
Historically accurate grunge reenactor, yeah.
Okay. I liked Alice in Chains songs. The Rooster. That's a really strong one. Though I feel like the Alice in Chains band members probably suck shit.
I haven't really done the research. I hope that is not the case, but you can't control how shitty the artists you admire are.
Would you say that you can't Cantrell?
All right. You're bringing me back around.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm here for that dad level punnery. I'm here for it, man.
Jerry Cantrell joke.
You did.
Year of our Lord 2020.
With Jerry a moment to spare.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not nary a moment, but Jerry a moment.
Exactly. That's a weak piggybacking off your initial joke.
Well, it wasn't bad. It was okay. Well, you know what?
Joke adjacent.
I will give you a quick.
Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Just a quick one.
I appreciate it. If only there was a version of that was half as long and half again pitched higher, it'd be really good.
I mean, I can work on that for next show.
Yeah.
All right. I just had an idea for. Okay. All right. I got an idea for next show for another sound effect.
Cool.
You're gonna love it. Okay, so that's it. That's it for me. Finish up my infiltrator specialist and almost done with these eradicators. What about you?
Well, I finished the 5 assault intercessors I was working on last time.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of them. They look great.
Thank you. Yeah, it was fun coming up with unique heraldry for them because I have to do that for every single fucking
Is there
squad.
a shield on each of them?
No, there's just a shield on the sergeant, but all their knee pads have a repeat of that heraldry. Okay. And all their swords also have the kind of freehand patterns on them that follow that same heraldry color scheme. I am basically out of back banners, though, so I currently have like a $30 eBay shopping cart of Space Marine back banners.
Oh, man. I can look through. I might be able to send you one or two.
If you have some spares, I would very much appreciate it. So, finished those boys. I built 3 eradicators because you said they're really good. I did a little bit of converting on them, so because I always want my sergeants to have some extra just shit on them, so they're not just like a guy who doesn't happen to wear a hat, because that's what they are from the box set. So I gave him some sort of like crest decoration up top, and I gave him a head swap and a little tilting plate shield. So I'll have, again, more room for heraldry.
I painted my eradicator sergeant as one of the helmeted ones. Yeah, gave him the white helmet, and so the helmetless fellow is just an eradicator.
So the problem with that is, and here's where I get really in the fucking weeds.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Space Marine sergeants have to have they have a skull in the middle of their helmet, And the Eradicators don't have that. So unless you have a spare Gravis Sergeant, like a Aggressor Sergeant Skullhelm, it's not gonna be the same thing. So I'm like, I can't just cut the skull off another helmet and glue it into one of those helmets.
That'd be
That's a little bit too fiddly.
There's also forehead detail on the Eradicator helmets. So
yeah, it might be a little tricky, but I don't know. I think that would be. I've got more of them, so maybe I'll do something like that for the second squad.
Okay.
And our good pal Ian is sending me another 3 of them as well, which I'm really stoked about.
Oh man, Hachi Machi.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I've got some extra stuff. Do you want anything?" I'm like, "More the Blade Guard veterans and those guys.
Yeah,
I want the sword and board boys. I want to be able to do a 6-man sword and board squad for my Templars when the time comes."
Yeah, I'm picking up another unit of the Blade Guard and another unit of the Eradicators. But I know for the Blade Guard, before I get my third set of 3 of them, I want to wait for the multi-part kit because I like multi-part kits. And I'm sure
understandable.
I'm sure the multi-part kit is going to look fantastic. And I wonder if we're going to get a multi-part kit for Eradicators. Though I don't know, because some kits just never get it, like suppressors.
Yeah, or half the stuff from Dark Imperium. Yeah. I mean, the characters, pretty much everything else has got multi-part kits except for the characters. Yeah. Anywho, aside from that, I am currently working on the Outriders, and I'm finding them to be a bit tricky. Uh-oh. I read a decent hack for subassembly on them, which involves cutting off the pedals right where they join to the body of the bike.
Okay.
Which I think I'll do when I get around to the second squad of them, because I didn't find that till afterwards, because I really wish I could paint the riders separately. Unfortunately, it's a little tricky to get around them. But once I kind of got a lot of the base colors blocked in, I found it to be pretty easy to paint them. Like, really, the only spot I really just can't get a fucking brush to is the spot behind the front wheel. There's just like the front wheel sticking out, and this sort of like cowl under the cowling. I can't hit that spot very easily.
Yeah.
I tried to hit that with like 4 coats of super watered down black, essentially hoping to wash it down to being painted.
Yeah.
But once I got past that, I've had a pretty good time painting them up. Like, they're new GW models. They're beautifully detailed. I also, on the second squad of them, though, I'm going to try to do something about the big fucking seam running down the middle, because I used plastic glue to build them. I painted over that little seam with sprue goo, which I learned from Alfredo, which is where you melt some plastic sprues into some plastic glue, and it makes this kind of like thick goop. That can work as a gap filler. I tried using that, and it didn't really do the job. I then used base paints, like really thick ass paint, to try to fill that seam and then scrape that down, and that still didn't do the fucking trick.
Ugh,
yeah,
terrible.
I found a pretty good tutorial on some fucking website. I'll link it to you, and you can put in the show notes, that actually went over how to basically take them off the seats and file all the seams and fill all the gaps and all that stuff. Again, I'll link that to you later, but it worked really nice. It looks like it worked really nicely, and I'll try that out in the second squad of them. It was on fauxhammer.com, FAUX hammer.com. They had a
hammer.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
Having some natty faux hammers.
There we go.
Yeah.
I forgot one.
Oh, what else you got?
I assembled some heavy Hellblasters.
Oh, nice.
With a bunch of the Raven Guard upgrade sprue on the Sergeant, at least. He's got one of the Raven Guard heads, and he's got some feathers and crow skulls and shit hanging around him. Here's the thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
So I put these things together. I put together the first fellow, the Sergeant, and he's got his gun on his hip, and he's pointing, right?
Okay.
Nice open stance. So I was like, I'll just put him all together, because I can paint him open like that. Mm-hmm. Here's these fucking things. Their guns connect to their backpacks.
Yes, they do.
And I was trying to finagle, gluing the bodies and the arms together and stuff, and like trying to figure out, all right, now what do I do with the fucking guns? And I was like, I'm going to have to glue these fucking guns on, because if I don't, I'm never going to get a good connection from the line coming from the gun to the line coming from the backpack. I had this problem with my Bolt Storm aggressors, because I painted the backpacks separately, which was fucking stupid, but whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have to. Where I had to actually clamp the hoses together to get them to glue fine without gaps.
I think I described the process of painting fully assembled aggressors as hateful.
Right.
And I don't think I was wrong to say so.
So I have fully assembled Hellblasters that I'm going to have to paint at some point, which I'm a kind of annoyed by, but I don't think I could have done it. I think I would have had to have done it this way. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure I could have gotten real wonky and like ended up painting things together and like getting real in the weeds and shit. But I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to put them together. And if I can't paint their fucking chest Aquilas all the way, nobody's going to fucking see it anyways. I'll be fine.
If only the majority of your scheme was black. Oh, wait.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's gonna do a little bit of that smoothing over for you.
Yeah,
I think you'll be okay.
I do love those models though. Okay. Oh my god, the heavy Hellblasters look so good.
They do look really fucking cool. It's a shame we just haven't really seen them on the table for
garbage.
a whole edition because they're trash.
Yeah, but this is me just being a fucking Pokemon trainer, catching them all with the Hellblasters because I have Assault, I have Rapid Fire, and I wanted Heavy just because I like the way they look. So very excited to get into these in the whatever X number of months it takes me to actually paint them because they're not very good.
I was going to say, how many Reavers do you have painted?
10.
Yeah.
Well, when I painted them, there were only so many Primaris units available.
That's fair.
I painted them for Adepticon in 2018. Mm-hmm. So 2.5 years ago almost. Oh, there's a cat.
Dang.
There's a cat down here. This cat had to go get an ultrasound today.
Oh, is she okay?
Yeah, she's had UTI issues, and so they were like, we want to look at her insides and make sure she doesn't have any growths or anything. She doesn't, which is good, but we just got to get her through this UTI situation. But she's got a patch of fur missing on her belly.
Oh, poor girl.
It's kind of silly looking.
It is silly looking, I'd imagine.
All right. Let's get back to our show.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt there, but I did forget to mention my heavy Hellblasters. Have you done any more hobby progress?
I was going to say, that's like a little hobby progress sandwich, and you're the buns.
Oh, okay. Yeah, buns.
Yeah, think about that. Yeah, you're the buns. The only other thing I've got is since the last we recorded, did you get your little Adepticon preview box thing?
I did get my Adepticon preview box. It came with a Assault Intercessor. Mm-hmm. And a Necron, and I don't know what kind of Necron.
It's just a Necron warrior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, I think they mentioned this on the independent characters too pretty recently, but there was, for everyone who's going to go to the Adepticon preview event, they basically were going to have like a little swag bag for everybody, and we only just got those in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, there's a ton of fiction in that bag
too. That's the thing, is these two big books of like all the collected fiction from Psychic Awakening and Malign Portents for Age of Sigmar. I think it's all the things that were posted online, and maybe a bit more, I don't know, but they're like really nicely, bound, printed, full color volumes with some cool art in them and stuff.
Really cool. I do want to get through at least the Psychic Awakening fiction because I just like that. I've been reading cover to cover the new rulebook.
Yeah, me too. I'm about halfway through the whole thing, and I'm finding a lot of like not just the like art and like I was expecting the art to be really pretty because they've got some really good artists.
Like all new art too.
That's the thing. like I've seen a few pieces where I'm like, that's from 3rd or 4th edition.
You see it and you're
very few. Very few. I played a game with myself. I'm like, okay, what's the oldest model I can see in this rule book?
There's also, I think a lot of the shit that they're talking. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, it's fine.
But
it's fine.
The one thing that seized me was that a lot of the times with these rule books, there's some copy pasting.
Yeah.
Not this time.
No, like all the lore I'm reading like seems like new stuff. I really liked there's like we're kind of pivoting into our fucking book nook, so strap yourself in. I really like there's like an Iron Snakes short story in there.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's what's really Iron Snake singular, and it's fucking cool.
I'll show you an Iron Snake.
We knew we'd get some use out of that button today.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
But yeah, it's like, it's a good fucking rulebook. Like, I like not just the quality of, it's not just like little lore snippets in the corners. It's like, 2-page fiction spreads like you're getting in the Age of Sigmar battle tomes. And in some cases, you're getting these little fiction spreads over the course of whole sections. Like the Crusade section, which we'll get to later, has this whole like back and forth story between Genestealer cults and Imperial Guard. Yeah. And it's not like necessarily the best written part of the rulebook or anything like that, but it's really cool to see this back and forth.
Fun that it's in there.
Yeah, it gives you, again, like a feeling of the place, a feeling of the stories in place.
One thing, though, about the rulebook that I don't like is they have these little quotes in the margins at points.
The font is illegible.
I can't read it. I literally cannot read it.
Yeah, I knew exactly. Well, the thing I find really funny about them is it looks like it's supposed to like the quill of some,
some scribe.
Scribe, some imperial menial, and they'll usually say things like, ignorance is the greatest strength, or whatever fucking like thought of the day imperial.
Is that what they say, Campbell? Because I can't fucking read them.
Well, the problem is, that's probably what one of them says. There's like 100 in there. The problem is some of them aren't from imperial mouths. So this one that's like in this like fucking Baroque script, it's like, "Oi, Wheeze is the biggest and Wheeze is the baddest." And I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe there's just a Cockney scribe who happened to be writing on this page about orcs, because orcs have like one page in the whole rule book.
Oh no.
Yeah, the Xenos kind of get done dirty in that rulebook.
They always do.
They always do, but it's like, here's your 40 pages about Imperials, here's your 20 pages about Chaos, here's your page each for
here's the question, though,
Eldar,
and
orcs.
this is gonna, this is heel Dan coming out big time.
All right.
How much about orcs do you really need to read? The story, as much as I like orcs, oh god, this is gonna get me fucking excoriated in the email. Contact at 40kbadcast.com if you want to get mad at me personally.
Flynn's Dan alive.
Or on Twitter.
Contact 40kbadcast.com.
At DV_sleazy. If you want to put the boots to me. Orcs are pretty one-dimensional, though. So
I would not disagree.
So like the orc stories are, what is interesting about the orc stories isn't like, it's not about the orcs. It's about like the destruction the orcs are causing, right? Mm-hmm. So, or funny hijinks that the orcs get into.
Usually by causing destruction to others as well, yes.
But like orc society is not necessarily complex.
There's many boys. We've gone over many kinds of boys there are.
But it doesn't really change. It doesn't. It's just like orcs are this way, and that's the way it is. Whereas the Imperium, like finding out like the all the like bullshit that makes the Imperium work is, I think, more work in quotes. Yeah, I think that's more interesting than like hearing about X war boss killed this many people on this planet.
No. Yeah, I do actually completely agree with you. And I do think there's an awful lot to be said about Eldar culture in society, because that goes pretty deep too.
There is. I remember the second edition Eldar Codex had so much stuff about like the different paths of the Eldar. When I was a kid reading that book, it was really fascinating, I thought.
Yeah, it's a really like pretty well thought out sort of cultural sort of thing, and they only touch on that very barely. I think in the rule book.
That stinks. Yeah, I guess they only have so many fucking pages before they have to like print out stories and pictures and shit, and also ship them. And if your book weighs 9 pounds, then it's like, oh well,
which it kind of already fucking does.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, with Imperium, you have like, here's your Codex Imperial Guard. Awesome. There's everything you know about the Guard. Codex Inquisition, Codex Grey Knights, Codex Space Marines. Like, you have all these big volumes on the various parts of the Imperial military and the Imperial society, which is really, I don't want to say well thought out per se, but pretty exhaustively explored, or pretty heavily explored. That is where you really get that in the rule book, is like, here's your kind of general place to look at the state of humanity and what common culture is like. Well, the entirety of Eldar culture, Orc culture, Tyranid quote unquote culture are all just summed up in their codexes pretty succinctly. There's not really much else to them that isn't in there.
Well,
anywho,
it's still a nice book, and orc players, you are welcome to murder me via email or tweets.
If you're still mad about Orktober, we won't hear it.
I know we will hear it and laugh at you. Maybe not to your face. Maybe behind your back, though.
Yeah, like friends do.
Exactly. Okay, let's move on to games played.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a pair of games played recently, actually.
A deuce, if you will.
Yeah, a duo of games.
A brace of games.
Yeah, I don't have another one after that aside from a pair of plays, but that's fine. So, as I mentioned pretty recently, I have a patio that I'm thrilled about.
Hey.
And I've been getting some good outdoor gaming in because, again, it's like pretty much fully shaded by 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So my first game was an Age of Sigmar game against Cody. It was his ogres versus my Daves to Darkness. It was like, again, the same thing I played with Dylan, where it's like, here's all my dudes, which is 1,650 points.
Ogres.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
Build an army to fight my Daves. And he did. I decided to follow up on my really bold turn 1 strategy of getting charged by everything and carried that over into this game.
Yeah, how'd that work this time?
So this time I'm like, okay, he goes first, so he moves his stuff up, and then I'm gonna move up, and I'm gonna get all my knights in. I even made a point to like put my knights and chariots and stuff back a little bit, so I'd be able to like guarantee myself a charge. And I flubbed all my fucking charges.
Hell yeah!
And I had I cast like Knights of Chaos on my knights, so they'd like reroll their charge distance. I roll Snake Eyes, I reroll it, and I get a 3.
Nice.
And
you
that
turned
is
that
kind
2 into a 3.
Hey, that's a 33% increase. That's pretty all right.
I mean, come on, that's what happens when 40k Badcast turning 2s into 3s, baby.
That's a pretty savage cell phone.
In this case, it applies to both of us.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a we own. So yeah, speaking of getting owned, that was kind of where the game went. Like after I failed all my charges turn 1, I said, and the game is yours. And it was.
Did you re-rack or did you kick him out of your house?
No, well, I couldn't kick him out of my house because we were already outside. But
you could kick him out of your yard.
I could kick him away from my house, but I'm not going to kick him away from my house. He's my friend. He's Cody. I love him.
Get in the graveyard, Cody.
Go join Morbo.
Go hang out with the dead people. They're the only people that like you.
Well, he didn't.
That's not true.
That's really mean.
Cody is well liked. I'm being hyperbolic.
I would say well loved even. He does actually have a one of his giants, which he didn't have in his army, but he had with him just because he wanted to varnish some stuff. One of his giants has they have a club with a gravestone on it.
Yeah.
And he wrote Morbo on the gravestone in honor of my favorite gravestone next to my house.
Yeah, just so listeners know about this Morbo.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
Campbell lives next to a graveyard, like literally next to a graveyard, and one of the graves that can be seen from the windows of your house is Morbo with no other explanation on it. And of course, that harkens back to the Futurama character of Morbo, who we all love dearly.
My second favorite gravestone in the graveyard just says butt on it.
Is it butt or is it butte?
No, it's butt.
Yeah.
It's not like a small mountain. It's just butt singular. The singular ass.
Fucking feeling it today.
Right? So we played through the rest of the game. It basically was like this long kind of war of attrition between his like block of 12 ogres and my 25 chaos warriors who just ground each other down turn after turn after turn. And at game's end, I had 2 knights left. I was down a bajillion points. He only had like 4 or 5 models left. The problem is they were just much larger, much meaner models than I had. It was fun. I'm looking forward to a time when, I can kind of build a chaos army that works a little better and I understand the rules, because it turns out like chaos sorcerers can just handle off an ability. It's not even a psychic or magic power. It's just like, those guys, they can reroll their armor saves this turn. Just whoever. It's just an innate ability.
Wait a second. Are you talking about how you forgot some rules?
I know. I forgot some rules. I can't believe it. Me, fucking Bear Trap McLaughlin here, fucking up his rules.
Bear Trap because
mind like a steel trap.
Like a steel trap because it closes quickly
and stays shut.
Yeah, you forget rules all the time. So
I'd say it's on brand.
I would love to hear about a game where you remembered every rule.
You won't today, because in this second game I played, it was my orcs versus Dylan's, my Ultramarines versus Dylan's orcs. Jesus Christmas. It was 50 power level, 4 objectives, one of the match play missions. We kind of ignored the secondary objective just so we could kind of learn the game for 9th edition.
I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
the secondary objectives are a huge part of the game of 9th
They
edition.
are a huge part of the game, but there's a lot of other parts of the game. Hold on. Oh, Numi. Kitten cat. Oh, Numi. Sorry, Numi was meowing sadly outside my door. Girly girl. Hold up. Hey, honey cat. How you doing? Yeah. Anyhows, sorry. So we set up for the game.
That's staying in.
Oh, Noomster. Oh, there you go, girl. So we set up the game. It's like about to get going, and it starts drizzling on turn 1.
Hell yeah.
Because we're playing outside. And I'm like, okay, this is going to suddenly be a bit of a rush. Fortunately for me, bolters are really good at making orcs go away.
It's true.
And go away, those orcs did. I kind of blitzed them off the table by the end of turn 3, at which point Vulpes Vulci and my new assault intercessors charged and killed his war boss. And you may be thinking, the Tarantel's already going. How much more Italian can this get? And I just think about the fact that this game was an hour and a half long.
Very nice.
And it was the briefest taste 9th edition, like an antipasto course, giving us the very start to this edition. Now, going back to previous times you talked, on air, off air, you've been like, Campbell, why are you painting in cursors? They're garbage. They're bad. They're gonna remain bad.
Now,
they can't be good.
Hold up. I don't know if they're gonna remain bad, 1. And 2, I'm saying they're bad in comparison to infiltrators.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, as I told Dylan at the time.
Okay, hold on. One more. I'm going to double hold up here. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I understand that the combat marine chapters, White Scars, Blood Angels, and Space Wolves fucking love incursors. I get that. Do not at me. But you play Ultramarines.
Yes. I also play Templars where they should have been, but that's fine. So the thing is, they were my MVPs this game.
Ooh.
So they set up real close because they have that infiltrate ability.
Yes.
I got to use they got to breach through a ruin on turn 1, which is pretty fucking cool because ruins are breachable. And like we even went over all the terrain before.
Run through that shit.
Yep, just fucking Kool-Aid man their way through it. I charged his Ludas, which I was able to get into charge distance with because they were on the other side of a barricade. So I got to get close enough to fight, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And, they shot up some stuff. They ground down the Ludas. They got to like hold up his war boss. And most importantly, they left behind their Haywire Mine.
Oh,
and he drove by the Haywire Mine with his shock jump dragsta, and it did 4 mortal wounds to it and fucking killed it.
Hell yeah.
So
that's tight. That shit is tight.
That's the thing. I can't ever feel bad about taking them because like the Haywire Mine is fucking cool.
Oh man. So you're telling me that not only did incursors whip ass in this game, it was against Dylan, our dear friend, who honestly we love and are lucky to know, and you just completely tabled his ass by turn 3.
Oh yeah, I'm dumpstering Dad's, I'm dumpstering Dylan's, and I'm getting creamed by Cody, I guess.
That's suggestive. I'm giving it a pony.
That's all right.
I have an idea.
Sure.
You should get an easy up.
I'm sorry?
An easy up.
I don't know what that means.
It's a pavilion that is easy to erect.
Oh, okay. Much like me, yeah. Stupid.
Oh, I walked into that one. Oh, shit. Yeah, getting easy up, man. You can pop that sucker right on top of your table, and the rain will never be a problem again unless it starts going sideways.
Which it often does.
Then you're in a lot of trouble.
It fortunately didn't start raining in earnest until after we gotten everything put away and finished. But
I'm gonna send you an easy.
All right, please do. Although I will say I would very much like to play 9th edition at a time when I'm not in terror that I'm about to get rained out of a game.
Yeah.
Because we did have to put all our rule books under the table because it started raining on top of it.
No. I'm telling you, my dude. Easy up.
I mean, does it keep things from falling on top of it?
Yes.
Good. All right. Good.
Well, it keeps things from falling on top of the stuff that's under it.
Yeah. Duh. There's not an easy up for the easy up.
Yeah, that would be weird. Okay. Just consider get one of those, and then you're set on your porch or on your patio.
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, you'll be ready for anything at that point. They even have ones that have sides on them too, so if it does start raining sideways, you're good to go.
It's just a fucking house.
Yeah, at that point, just play inside. Though I guess playing inside is not
safe right now, which is why I'm doing this.
Socially responsible thing to do.
I will say masking up and just be like, I'm glad I'm in a situation where I have like opponents who I know and trust. So if they're like, I hit 3 times, I believe them.
Right.
I don't think it would really do in a tournament situation, but like we each had like our kind of rolling trays. Like,
I think, dude, people are going to tournaments right now.
I know
they're going to tournaments inside right now.
Yeah, which is
I still won't go to the fucking gym.
Yeah, I canceled my membership.
It's fucking like I see every time I walk by that place, there's people without masks, and I'm like, and then they recently sent an email being like, this is our mask policy. It's going to be firmly enforced, but one of the things is like if you're on a cardio machine, you don't have to wear a mask, and I'm just like, okay, so the whole bank of cardio machines is just going to be spraying fucking COVID droplets all over the fucking place. That sounds safe.
Yeah, the people who are breathing through their mouths because they're running at 9 miles an hour or whatever. Like, yeah, that's cool. That's good.
That sounds safe.
Yeah, and run outside. Just fucking run outside.
Okay, well, it sounds like you had a good couple of games there.
I did have a good couple of games. I look forward to having more.
I had no games.
I'm sorry to hear it, but
no, it's okay. It means that we can move on. Let's talk about new stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Let's start with 40k.
Yeah,
we got 40k starter boxes.
Yeah, multiple levels of starter set.
So the Indomitus box, when they said, "Hey, y'all, it's not a starter box," and everybody was like, Psh, "Fuck off, Games Workshop! You don't know what a fucking starter box is." Nah, they were right because they released 3 different starter boxes. So you got the Recruit Edition, the Elite Edition, and the Command Edition, which are varying amounts of models inside, with the Recruit being the smallest and the Command being the most, with the rule books, with pamphlets to help you play with the models that come in the box. And the Command Edition even comes with brand new terrain.
Yeah, which and the terrain is being released separately, and I think it's available separately with a whole cardboard board, which is cool, but it's no Moon-based Crisis.
Moon-based Crisis, man.
That's the meta.
Somebody had to fucking explain why that's such a big joke in our circles, because I get it. It's like there's like no terrain on it. I get it. I understand that it's a terrible board to play on, but like, geez, that just went right over my fucking head.
I mean, of course, there's not much terrain. It's a moon.
So the terrain looks pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's like the 3rd or 4th pipeline set they've come out with.
Who doesn't love pipelines? I mean, that's
gotta love the pipe.
You can use that in 40k. You can use that in Necromunda. You can use that in Kill Team. Like it's just good terrain.
Yeah, it's versatile. Like just that sort of like very easy to set out barricades or terrain is always useful. And I like the like Forge Shrine thing that looks kind of like almost like a water tower. I really do like the messaging on these though, because in 8th edition you had like First Strike and I think No Fear. Like there were a few like of these little starter sets that were kind of shitty because for one, they weren't advertised as an obvious starter set like these are. Because these even say like starter set in like on a red band on top. But also those gave you like, here's 3 Intercessors and 3 Plague Marines and 5 Poxwalkers, and like the minimum unit sizes of those are 5, 5, and 10 respectively, I think.
Right, yeah.
Well, now these are like, here's 5-man, 10-man, or in the case of like Bikers, 3-man bricks, where they're all like, they're actually usable. Right. And that is huge because, yeah, when you start it, if you're starting with one of these, you're actually going to be able to find a place for these things in a real army if you do like get further into the hobby, where if you have, the 3 random Intercessors from one of these starter sets, like, okay, how am I going to source 2 dudes?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of these. I really do like that they have the multiple levels of it because, like, I don't know, that's just good for accessibility. As you can dip your toe in just a little bit, or you can go hard with the Command Edition or whatever. I'm into it.
They're great sets, man.
Yeah, again, and the models from Indomitus, which are fucking dope. Like, we've gone over that pretty extensively. They're good fucking models. So, yeah.
Anything else in 40k?
They updated the power levels for everything finally.
Oh yeah.
It only took an edition.
Oh yeah. I don't even care.
I do because for Crusade I'm gonna care. And
Yeah, if you play with power levels, we'll talk.
Fine.
We'll talk about Crusade later in the show.
Power level's cool.
All right, let's move on to Aeronautica Imperialis.
Yeah, the Vulture and the Arvis lighter and Avenger. The Avengers being released separately, and
Avenger
yeah, there's a bunch.
Strike Fighter. Yeah, man.
I like the look of that thing.
It's the 40k version of the A10 Warthog, which is a plane built around a gun.
Yeah, it is a flying Burt machine. Yeah,
It's very fun. Very fun. I believe the A10 Warthog is very popular on the internet amongst those who like planes.
Largely for making big noises. And I do have to appreciate the 40k-ness of, as you said, a plane built around a gun.
They look cool. The Aeronautica models continue to impress.
Yeah. I'd like to get more Aeronautica in. I know I've talked to Beersy about playing it over Tabletop Simulator. I just haven't gotten the chance to get going on it.
I wish I could paint faster so I could get rid of some of this 40k stuff and paint something else. But, wishes and fishes, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've seen all the stuff for Aeronautica before, and we also saw the stuff for Warhammer Underpants before, but it's now actually coming out. So you've got Morgwaith's Blade Coven, which is that Daughters of Cain, sort of like the old blood, dark elf type model type aesthetic, which is cool because I'm happy to see those in new sculpts, and also Morgoth's Crushes, which are just those big iron jaw brutes. They look kind of like regular iron jaws to me, except for the dude with the skull on his head, but they look dope.
Yeah, I mean, don't ask me to differentiate them from the other Warhammer Underpants orcs, but whatever.
Orcs are cool. Who knew?
Yeah. Let's move on to Necromunda. So House of Blades up for pre-order this weekend, and this is big news.
Yeah,
because House of Blades has been teased for what feels like a year at this point.
It was supposed to come out in March, I thought.
It was supposed to come out in Q2.
Yeah.
And it is now, of course, Q3 because coronavirus has made fools of us all. So it's finally coming out. This is highly anticipated, long-awaited book for the House Escher gang in Necromunda and the assorted bullshit that comes with a whole new Necromunda book. And fella, I am extremely excited for this.
I'm thrilled about it. Like I have a bunch of Eschers that I was going to get working on before House of Chains came out, and I've just been waiting for this to come out before I could get back to them. And yeah, I'm into it. I want to get the rule book. Obviously, I want to get the new box that's coming out, which has the 2 Death Maidens, 4 Wild with a Y, Wild Runners, and
not
4
Wild Stallions.
No, Wild Runners, very different.
That's
and 4 of those.
That's a reference.
Yes, it is. That I understand.
It's an Airheads reference.
No,
isn't it Airheads or is Wild Stallions Bill and Ted?
Is Bill and Ted Excellent Adventures?
What was the band in Airheads?
I haven't seen Airheads.
With Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser and somebody else.
Saying who was in it does not make me see it.
Okay, here we go.
Not David Spade?
I
would assume David Spade.
To the Airheads 1994 film. Yep. Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and the teen heartthrob Steve Buscemi.
I mean, for what it's worth, to go back a few steps, Steve Buscemi does look very grunge in this.
Oh, this movie fucking rips shit, dude. It's so good.
I mean, I'm looking at a picture of Brendan Fraser holding what looks like a micro Uzi, so I'm into it.
Yeah, it's a rad fucking movie.
I'll keep that one in mind. I'm here for sleeveless plaid shirts. Anywhomst, there's also 4 feelings in that box. So that's cool. And again, they showed some like the names because much like Goliath's got names like Goliath Bully, Goliath, they replace like, Juve leader and so on.
Right,
You've got like Escher gang queens and shit like that. I'm into it. I'm really stoked to see them get that same sort of Codex Eschers expansion.
And of course, in the Goliath book, The House of Chains, they also brought through the Slave Ogrins, which are going up for pre-order. And I'm excited to see what sort of crazy shit comes out of the House of Blades.
Yeah, I'd say those fucking Ogrins have been like they've been in that rulebook since November, I think, was when House of Chains came out. And I just been looking at them and being like, when can I buy these fucking big boys?
Soon. 5 days, 4 days.
Hell yeah.
A few days, very soon.
Add to that backlog.
So I'm also very excited for this because I, of course, write a weekly column with our friend Jules over at goonhammer.com called Necromonday, and we haven't had new shit to talk about since November. So we're very excited to not have to come up with article ideas from whole cloth. Now,
Hell yeah.
something I'm excited about.
So I figured we were saving this for last.
No, 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 we're saving something else for last, but we'll get there. Just trust me. Let me guide you.
Okay.
Let me be
Take me as your guide.
Let me be your Auspex Sherpa. Okay. The brand new terrain feature from Necromunda, the Gang Stronghold. My dude, yes.
Such a nice Necromunda playset.
Snaps for Games Workshop on that one. I am going to get this. I'm going to send all my terrain off to somebody who's better and more patient with painting terrain to paint it, because I want a fucking board, a 3D board for Necromunda, and this is how I'm going to fucking do it.
It's really fucking cool.
It's so cool. It's got a watchtower. It's got a fucking watchtower.
It's got a watchtower and these like sort of like barricade type walls. Like I can just think of so many little, like it's got the doors that open. It really is a Necromunda playset. Like
it really is. Yeah.
I can't phrase it any other way. But
I'm very excited for my Necromunda playset.
Yeah, I will. Like when I read actually the that little Mike Brooks story, Wanted Dead, I really like it. Kind of painted pictures of some of these like gang strongholds, and that really made me excited at the notion of having one. And it's very cool. There's an actual set for it coming out.
Yeah. Also, there's a preview this Saturday, an online preview, so I'm sure we'll get a fun, good look at some new stuff. But I want to move on to what I'm most excited about right now, Campbell, and that, of course, is. That's right, fuckos. We're talking about Blood Bowl.
I was like, how long can this go on before it's too indulgent?
Oh no, this is fucking happening.
Okay.
We are. Listen, this is the Blood Bowl theme on the 40k Badcast. Is it the CBS College Football Saturday theme from the 1980s? Absolutely. Is it also the Blood Bowl theme for the 40k Badcast? Yes, that too. Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl, only slightly less exploitative than college football.
Okay. New Black Orc team. This is it's distracting me. Sorry. We got a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about. But first off, they showed pictures of the Black Orc team that comes in the box with the Imperial Nobles team, which we talked about last show. Mm-hmm. And Bud, as you know, I am somewhat of an orc enthusiast when it comes to Blood Bowl. And this team fucking kicks ass. 10 different kinds of ass, in fact. These are just the biggest, meanest orcs and their goblin friends just trying to have some fun out there on the Blood Bowl pitch.
They've got cool fingerless gloves. They're all huddled over. I do like the mix of like the Black Orcs and the Goblins, though. I like the mix of not the biggest of big guys, but like bigger guys. And
it is a very interesting team. They're coming from the Lizardmen side of the playbook here, where you have just real big guys and just real small guys, and no real ball handling skills, but a lot of fun in between. So I'm very excited to get this team. Whenever this Blood Bowl box comes out, I'm fucking buying it immediately, and I want to play it so bad. I'm so excited for it.
I want to paint the nobles. I really do.
We also saw the new model for Varag Ghoul Chewer, who is an Orc Star player, a Black Orc Star player. Here's the one problem with that, is I have the Forge World model for Varag Ghoul Chewer painted up. So I saw this model. I'm like, fuck, man. This one's way better than the one I have.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I'm used to being like, oh, look at this old model versus the new version. It's so night and day. And when I saw the old the now old Varag Ghoul Chewer, I'm like, this is such a cool like modern model. And I look at it next to the new one, I'm like, this is dumpster trash compared to the plastic one.
This is literally poop from a butthole because this plastic one is so much fucking better. So yeah, this shit kicks ass, man. I'm really, really excited about that. What I know you might be a little bit excited about are the Snotling team that you can purchase this weekend.
Yes, they're on pre-order. They have 2 fucking pump wagons. I love those models. They're so expressive.
Yes, the Snotling team is fantastic. They are probably terrible at Blood Bowl, but who cares?
I mean, they're the what are they, like the fucking the nose pickers? It's something stupid like that.
Yeah,
they have
the Crud Creek nose pickers.
Yeah, the thing is, like in the previews, they showed some artwork, and it's got like a bunch of snotlings, like literally like rallying around a piece of poop on the field, and it's got this very like 80s cross-hatching pen and ink art style that I really adore.
Yeah, I mean they're killing it with Blood Bowl. Like I know that you're not really into Blood Bowl too much, but it is that fun 80s fucking silliness that Games Workshop had in those times, and it's they've turned it up to 11. It fucking rules.
Well, here's the thing. I love Blitz Bowl. I love these models.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
We're gonna turn you into a sports fan before you fucking know it.
A fantasy asterisk sports fan, yeah.
And then finally, they have released pictures of the Necromantic Undead team. And this, Campbell, I think would appeal to you greatly because it's basically, what if Halloween had miniatures?
Yeah, it's the Monster Mash, and I fucking adore it. Well, because you need musical cues. So like whenever you win a game, it's customary to blast Space Jam, crotch chop a couple times, and just walk around the table. But with this, you can start every game with the Monster Mash, and I guess when you lose, you can play "Dig Up Her Bones." Like you've got a good playlist just built in.
That's my favorite fucking Misfits song.
I know, it's a fucking banger.
Oh, I love the Misfits. Anyways, this team kicks ass. There's a ghoul with a pumpkin on his head. There's 2 different Scarecrow models. There's zombies. There's Frankensteins, and there are even sheet ghosts.
They're oh my god, yeah, they're on like clothesline like socks
ghosts.
off them.
I like how the socks are there because that's their team colors, and they're like, well, we got to get the team colors in there somehow.
That's such a good. I will say that I think that's clever. There's some really, I think there's something really clever about that. I'm not crazy about the werewolf model. I don't hate it though.
It's good. I like werewolves. It's very old school GW werewolf.
Yeah, I do like that. So much of the armor plates are little coffins though.
Yes, they have really gotten after it with the coffin codpiece on the flesh golem. I'm sorry, the Frankenstein. This kit is amazing. I want all of the fucking Blood Bowl kits. I really do. I want to have every team. I want to paint them. I might just give up 40k and paint Blood Bowl models from here till I die. Now
I understand. Also, one of the ghouls has a Judge Death helmet.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, he does constantly. No,
I see him. I got him.
Yeah,
he. Oh God, I'm so happy the people at Games Workshop are fucking nerds.
You don't say. I'm glad they're having fun with it. I really am.
Blood Bowl is the best.
Blood Bowl is thematically pretty dope. I'll give it a go. I'll buy some toys and I'll give it a go.
Hell yeah. All right, let's move on. Finally, that's a long fucking Auspex, isn't it? That's like an hour-long Auspex.
Oh, I know, but we're giving the listeners what they crave, I guess.
They're getting their fucking money's worth with this show. Let's do a fucking question from a listener. We make the call. Here we go. This is from Richard McKay via email. And he writes, my gaming group includes a lot of friends who feel bad that their armies aren't painted, but who still struggle to get paint on their models. Whether it's time, painting experience, or motivation, they just aren't happy with their painting progress. What are some things you have done to help your friends get their armies completed and to help friends get to a place where they are happy with how their models look?
I think there's a lot of ways to approach this, and it's going to vary from person to person. Because I've had, friends in gaming groups from when I was 14 to now who have trouble getting things finished, whether it's because they don't enjoy painting or they can't get to the level they like or what have you. Yeah. I think first and foremost, you just kind of need to sort of drill it into them that not everything is going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. It's very much the perfect is the enemy of good sort of mindset. Because I can think of multiple people I know who've painted like one model for an army, usually in a fairly difficult scheme, and it looks gorgeous. And it took them a month to do it. And it's like, oh, that's a good tactical Marine. You got how many more you got to do?
Yeah.
And then they never went forward because just the notion of painting to that standard was intimidating to them or whatever.
Right.
I think being able to be like, okay, you've got to figure out when to say fuck it. Because like we talked about earlier with your heavy Hellblasters, you're probably not going to get to those chest Aquillas.
Nope.
And that's okay. You're going to say, but oh no, you won't. You'll forget. It doesn't matter how, like, you could be the most anal retentive person in the world. You will forget. Unless it's like, oh, there's a fucking blue spot on top of that guy's head and it's supposed to be brown. In which case, like, yeah, okay, that's an obvious, mistake or whatever. In the case of things like this, you are going to forget. And that's okay. In fact, that's preferable because unless you're entering for competition level painting, not everything needs to be the best it can be. Like, man, if you looked at, like, it's about finding the thing that makes your painting as expedient as you need it to be, and also get to the level you want it to be. Because like my Ultramarines, I like my Primaris ones, I love how this army looks, but I'm very cognizant that my first step of highlights is messy and they only get nicer after a bit of a cleanup. And anywhere that doesn't look great, I weather over it because I know that's faster and it still looks good. And it's just it's a matter of finding the right techniques and the right mindsets to kind of bring together to make things look good enough. And maybe a little better than good enough in the case of like characters or elite units, but good enough to make you happy. And it's a thing we kind of like other people talk about a bit, but we kind of give a bit of side eye because it doesn't really happen that often. But going back to things you've already painted and adding like another layer of highlights or cleaning up something or adding some freehand or whatever the fuck, like that's always an option. Yep. And I think that's an option for when I finish my backlog. So
there you go.
Joke's on me, I guess.
I think one more thing to add, one more quick thing. My Steel Legion army, I think, looks great. And it is not painted to a very high standard. It has a lot of dry brushing, a lot of washes, but like individual models might not look that great. But when you get them all together on the table, sorry, I had to gently guide a cat away from the soundboard here.
That's fair.
When you get them all on the table, they look fantastic combined because they're a fully painted army that they look like they match each other. And even if it's not the best, highest quality paint job, if you get a coherent looking group together, it's going to look good on the table. Yeah. So don't worry about it that much, friends of Richard.
I will say,
get after it.
I've got one sort of little mantra sort of thing here. And there's a few of these. The main mantra I hear that's applicable to everything is faces and bases. They're the things that people are going to pay the most attention to. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to, put the most loving detail into your bases, but just like there needs to be something there. If it's just a Citadel texture paint and, one or two stages of dry brushing and like a grass tuft, you're golden. And so long as the face of the model, whether it's a helmet or a bear head or whatever, looks pretty good too, you're set. And in the case more of like historicals or fantasy, it's shields, flags, weapons, and faces. Okay. And if those four things can look good, you're good.
Yeah. That sounds like good advice, man.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, I hope that helps. That was a serious one. Not like a serious one, but it was a good one.
It's genuine hobby advice.
All right, let's move on. And let's talk about what I'm most excited about in 9th edition 40k. Crusade, a.k.a. Necromunda in 40k, and we are here for it.
Now, caveat, not as complex as Necromunda, but scratches a lot of the same itches.
Yes, I think actually for the size of 40k, if you were to get any more complex, oh, no, you don't want to do that. Bad idea. So what, Campbell, is Crusade?
Crusade is what narrative play looks like in 9th edition.
Oh, man. I'm already so excited. Okay, sorry, I'm interjecting here because in earlier editions of 40k, and 8th edition specifically, like narrative play was just lazy match play.
Yeah, I would say narrative play. I actually went back and reviewed what the narrative play section was for 8th edition today, just because I'm like, okay, what's the deal here? And in 8th edition narrative, which is that's when they did like the 3 ways to play: narrative, open, matched. Open is fuck it, whatever. Let's play Calvin Ball. Matched is how most people play Warhammer, and narrative was kind of murky because it didn't really define it super cleanly. Like you had things like historical battles, that you'd fight. Like, okay, that's very clear and I get it. You know, like if you look at the old Forge World books where they even had like the orders of battle where it's like the guard had these things, the Tyranids had these things, and this was the battle. Like that shit rules, but is very, very, very niche.
Yeah.
While the other missions in 8th edition that were narrative, so to speak, were just kind of like maybe they'd be a little asymmetrical, and it was really just a set of missions.
Yeah.
There wasn't really much more to it. This instead is giving you the tools to borrow a very silly term GW uses, forge your own narrative.
Fuck yeah. It's a progressive experience campaign that you can play with your friends using 40k framework. It's fan-fucking-tastic. It is, like I said at the beginning, man, it takes the idea of Necromunda where your gang progresses over the course of a campaign and gets better and gets cooler shit, and it takes that into the 40k into the 40k
game engine
background. Yeah, game engine. Thank you. And translates that to how you can do it with just one friend, how you can do it with a group of friends. It's awesome. It's fucking it whips ass. So
it's clearly drawing a little bit from Warcry, where in theory any Crusade force can fight any other Crusade force, as they'll likely be somewhat balanced into each other with some of the game's balancing aspects. Although I would advise against that.
Let's circle back to that where we talk about things we don't necessarily enjoy about it, because I have a couple of things we don't necessarily enjoy.
Okay. Well, we'll start from the top here, which is with your order of battle, which is basically your master roster.
Now there are two terms here that I want to highlight. It's order of battle and supply limit.
Right.
So will you tell me what your, let's start with order of battle, and then we can talk about supply limit.
Your order of battle is just a sheet which just has all the things in your army. So you're not going to be playing every game with everything here. This is just like, this could represent your whole collection in theory or whatever. So it's going to be starting at a supply limit of 50 power level. And on that sort of roster, you'll fill out each unit, what they've got, what their power level is. And later on is where you start bringing in their Crusade points, because these points go up and down depending on various things that happen with advancements and injuries and so on. And you're not going to be playing necessarily every battle with 50 power level, or however you want to do it, because it sounds like you are more interested in points than power level here, which is fine. It's your preference. But
we'll touch on that at the end. Yeah.
Yep. But like, you'll be like, oh, we're going to be playing a 25 power level game. Okay, well, I'll take these units off my roster and I'll use them in this game. And then they'll gain their respective experience and so on. And then at the end of the day, they're still on the roster. Like it's your master list. And over the course of your campaign, you can build that supply limit up a little bit, which doesn't mean you have a bigger army in games. It just means you have more options available to you when you do play a game.
Yeah. So the way I look at it is like your order of battle and supply limit work like a savings account and a checking account, right? So like your savings account is the money that you don't need immediately, or the units that you're not using this battle, but your checking account is the stuff that you're going to be using immediately for that battle, right? So if your supply limit is 50 power level and you're going to be starting out at 25 power level games with your friends, then you've got an extra 25 power level in the bank to use to mix and match units and tailor your forces to better compete with your opponents.
Yeah, because speaking of tailoring forces, you have to choose things like psychic powers, litanies, like on chaplains, war gear that units have when you buy the unit, and you can only change it with things like requisition points.
Well, that's a great segue, Campbell. Let's talk about requisition points. So at the beginning of a Crusade, you're going to get 5 requisition points, and these are the things that will add flavor to your army. So when you write a Crusade list, you cannot choose warlord traits. You cannot choose relics. And you cannot upgrade units like veteran intercessors. You can't upgrade a unit of intercessors to veteran intercessors. You have to instead use this system called requisition to get these cool flavor add-ons to your units. So you start with 5, and you can do things like buy warlord traits. Now, okay, you don't start with warlord traits, but there aren't any maximum warlord traits. You can, any character, you can just say, all right, he's got this trait. Oh, and this guy's got this trait. And they're in the same battle, because
Yeah.
you spent the points for it. And you can do the same thing with relics. So you can have multiple, well, you can't have multiple relics on the same guy, but you can have multiple relics in your army from the word go. And so you start with 5, and then each battle you get 1 at the end of the battle, in addition to any that you've earned through the mission. So not every mission will earn you extra requisition, but some will. And one important thing that requisition can do, it can expand your supply limit, meaning that you can play bigger games, and you can buy 5 power level for your supply limit with 1 point of requisition. Now, we're going to circle back to the idea of escalation in a Crusade at the end of this segment, because I have some thoughts about it. But requisition is basically credits in Necromunda.
Yeah, I like that you have this extra sort of currency to spend that isn't command points, that isn't power level or points in this case. I like having these different little knobs and levers you can kind of tweak to, it's another resource to manage, which means there's more choices for the player to make, which I'm a big fan of. But that's not the only thing you're going to be spending here, because you're also going to be spending experience points.
Hell yeah, you are.
So every unit in a battle, so not necessarily your entire roster, but every unit in the battle you play gets an experience point. They get another one for every third unit they destroy. You keep track of how many units they destroy. And then at the end of the battle, you can mark one unit for greatness and give it 3 extra bonus experience points. And when units get enough experience points, they can get battle honors, which is where they gain a level, they go up in power level, and then you get to choose from a bunch of different level up things. And these can range from battle traits, which are, you have a different table for characters, monsters, vehicles, and other, which is, squads, whatever, that might give them stat bonuses or bonus rerolls or some like extra ability. You have weapon enhancements where you just kind of get to take one of their weapons, whether it's melee or ranged, and make it really fucking good, which I think only applies to sergeants and unit champions in units, but in characters could be pretty killer. You've got psychic fortitudes, which make them a more powerful psyker, which means they can cast more powers or deny more powers or cast more reliably. There's only a couple. And then there's Crusade relics. And these are interesting because they're relics that kind of grab some of the far out parts of the Warhammer lore, like friends on injectors and conversion fields. But they're a bit more situational, but the higher level your character is, because there are, once you level up 2, 3, 4, I think 5 times the max, you get to access more and more kind of epic gear. So you can gear up to getting vortex grenades, which are wild mortal wound pissers. So it's a really cool extra thing on top of everything else. And there's ways to lose experience, which is namely by dying.
Right. So any unit that dies during a battle has to take what's called an out of action check. And this is a D6 roll. And if you roll a 1, then that unit has taken casualties. And the way that is expressed is they either lose experience or they gain something called a battle scar, which is like a battle honor, an upgrade, but the opposite, it's a downgrade. And some of these are pretty brutal. One of them is you lose objective secured.
Yeah, another is you can't be affected by stratagems, which is fucking killer.
Yeah. So battle scars are a thing, but you can use requisition to nullify battle scars if you need to do that with an important unit. But it's just another layer of crunchiness in the post-game activity of the Crusade battle. Now, we talked about experience, but what the main way you're going to generate experience through a campaign is not just through accruing it normally through a game, but through these things called agendas. So in Match Play 9th edition 40k, you have your secondary mission objectives. In Crusade games, you do not. You have agendas, which are pretty much the same as secondary objectives. They have the same flavor, but instead of getting you victory points, they get you bonus experience points for the units that complete complete these agendas.
Right.
So if you're like, all right, man, these Hellblasters, they really got to level up. I really got to give them some points. What are Hellblasters good at killing? Heavy infantry and vehicles. So you're like, all right, well, I'm going to choose some agendas that will augment their ability to get experience through what they're good at. And so depending on the agenda, it can give anywhere between like 4 and 12 experience points to a unit for the battle if they do really well for 12. And I think is a really flavorful way to get you to play the game you want to play in narrative gaming. Now, one thing that should be understood immediately is that Crusade play and matched play are going to be completely different. In matched play, your secondary objectives are half of your victory points, and you've got to figure out a way to maximize them as best as you can. But in Crusade play, it doesn't work like that. So one of the things that I noticed is the Abhor the Witch secondary for match play. And this is, if you don't have any psychers, then you get victory points for killing psychers. It depends on your army composition. In Crusade, there isn't anything like that. So if you're like, I don't want to give up Abhor the Witch points, I'm not going to take my librarian for this match play game. But in Crusade, you're like, fuck yeah, I'm taking this fucking librarian. He kicks ass. Also, he can level up and get vortex grenades. So why the fuck wouldn't I take my fucking librarian? I don't have to worry about army comp shit. I can play with the models I want to play with and play games in the style that I want to play them because I've got agendas. I don't have to worry about comp, and it's much more forgiving mission style. So let's talk about the missions for a little bit. Yeah. They do score on a 90-point axis, I guess. That's not the right word for it, but I'm using it. Rubric. There we go. 90-point rubric, just like the match missions do, but they do not act in the same way. Agendas don't give you victory points. The only victory points you're going to get are because of the mission special rules. And again, you're playing a different game. The missions are familiar to anybody who's played 8th edition, because basically all of the matched play missions from 8th edition became the narrative missions for 9th edition, the Crusade missions.
Yeah, I was reading through them earlier today, and they were very familiar to me, although they do have a few of those asymmetric missions, which I think is really neat, because this is the place for asymmetric missions.
Yes. And not only are you going to get asymmetric mission design, but again, with Crusade, you can play the way you want to play.
Right.
You do not have to play to the other person's list. You do not have to play to the secondaries, and you do not have to play to the meta. You get to do what you want to do.
You don't even need to build your army according to the way the regular game works, because you just choose like Imperium, Chaos, Eldar, Necrons, Tau, Tyranids. Like you choose like one of these just about Grand Alliance sort of names, and you just kind of go from there.
Right. You do have to like build a list like Battleforged and like make detachments and stuff to, figure out what your CPs, your command points are for every battle, just like you do in match play. But again, army comp, which when I say comp is composition, army composition is a lot looser than it is in matched play, especially if you're going to go to a tournament or something using the GT pack for 9th edition, where like the meta already exists.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's not kind to psychers. So like you want, if you are like, man, like I'm looking at my display cabinet over here and I'm like, fuck, I want to take my librarians, but I also don't want to give up points. And I don't want to leave Abhor the Witch on the table. You know what I mean?
I get that.
So, but in narrative and Crusade, fuck it, man. Play with what you want to. Okay, so the balancing mechanic in this case is called Crusade points. So whenever anything levels up or gets requisition spent on it or gets a relic or something, you're going to add a Crusade point or multiple Crusade points to that unit's cards. So, sorry, what I'm doing is adding more things to my problem list so I can talk about them in this segment. I have 5 things, right? And I keep remembering things. Okay, so Crusade point is Crusade points are how you balance it. So Campbell, let's say you and I are playing a game, right?
Yeah.
It's a 1,000-point game. I'm sorry, 50 power level game. 50 power level game. I have in my list 15 Crusade points, and you have 10 Crusade points. So my army is functionally a little bit stronger than your army.
Right.
Now, not like...
It's not like you have 200 extra points of free Razorbacks or whatever. You just have some bonus abilities in some of your dudes.
But let's say I very adroitly picked my agendas for the previous game and got a whole lot of experience out of it, whereas you did not. Mm-hmm. And so I'm ahead of you in Crusade points. So it's called Crusade Blessings. It's when you have fewer Crusade points, you add up the Crusade points on their roster. You divide it by you take the lower away from the higher. So in our case, we would take away your 10 from my 15. We're left with 5. We divide that by 2, round down, and you get that many command points. So in our game, you'd start the game with an extra 2 command points.
Yeehaw.
So that's the balancing mechanic. Now that is in there so you can feel better about playing a more advanced Crusade army.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about this. My notes here have a question. Why do we want to play Crusade? And my answer to I answered it. So it's a rhetorical question. Is, are you fucking kidding me? This is the coolest fucking shit.
I mean, this is the kind of thing we've been kind of like, I know I personally have always wanted to do. I've always loved the idea of having a master list sort of thing. And, you bring in units and they get better or worse or whatever. It's not quite as punishing as it could be. Like, it's not as punishing as Necromunda, because even if you're on your worst die roll, your squads getting wounded are just, 1 requisition point away from being all right again. And still, they're not dead for good. So whenever I bring out Vulpes Vulci's Venerated Vexilia or whatever the fuck I call my first Crusade army or whatever, I'm going to be able to really have a good time putting it together, naming my units, because I love naming my units, obviously. And you have a functional reason to do so. Not just like, oh no, you shot Sergeant Flavius. And they're like, who? It's just some fucking guy. It's like, no, he actually is a guy here. He has special things that make him unique to just your average Intercessor Sergeant or whatever.
And Squad Flavius is better at shooting than Squad Fierius.
Fast and the Furious, yes. Those are my bikers.
Because they've got a battle honor that they've upgraded their weapons or something.
Yeah.
Because that's something you can do. You can upgrade weapons in Crusade. It's so you can do so many fucking cool things.
The thing is, I really like there's enough resource management to provide multiple levels of reward, either in the rules as is, or if you have a GM, you could easily say this mission's over a spaceport, so you get an extra requisition point if you win, or whatever sort of like. There's more resources that can just be handed out there. Or
absolutely. The managed. Possibilities are pretty fucking limitless with this.
Yeah.
And I expect that when people start heavily gaming with one another again, we're going to see a lot of cool stuff out there for Crusade. But I want to touch on things that don't like.
Okay.
Power level, number 1.
I know you don't like that.
Power level sucks. We've already had an email in our inbox with somebody talking about how everybody's really excited about Crusade. They started a Crusade with their friends, and now everybody's all about gaming the power level system to abuse it as much as possible. I hate to say it, and I know a lot of people out there don't like playing with points, but points is just better. It makes for a more fair game, and it makes for a better experience for players.
You're not wrong, generally.
Because like I can load up an Intercessor squad with Power Fist, with a grenade launcher, with all this fun stuff, and you have an Intercessor squad that is costing you the same, but you don't have any of that stuff. And maybe it's just because I have it painted and you don't.
Yep. Again, this is kind of down to the people running the Crusade campaign sort of discretion. Like, it's not necessarily super core to the rules. There are some rules that do ask about power level, but they're kind of on the same level as the ones in matched play. Like, how you can deep strike a unit that costs X power level, but if they cost Y power level, it costs more command points. Like, it's that level of rules reliability. Like, it's not that big a deal.
Right. So I know that when I'm going to be playing Crusades, especially if I'm going to be running Crusades, I'm going to be using points.
Yep.
Because it is honestly a better system. 2, escalation. Escalation in Crusade doesn't really They don't really have rules for it in the book. They have, you can buy, your supply limit gets bigger, but there is no point in the Crusade book where it says you have to play games using the player's highest supply limit. So if you and I are playing a game, if my supply limit is 30 and yours is 25, it says agree on a game size. There's no like, you have to play to the person who's spent, requisition on the supply limit. So I don't get to use my extra points if you don't want to let me.
The point of that is to give you more flexibility. It's not to make it so you can just have more shit than me. Like, that's kind of the difference between this and, say, Necromunda. Because in Necromunda, you can have, let's say the battle is 8 gangers versus 8 gangers. Well, that can be, fucking Joe Yahoo and the dumpster crew versus the most decked out gang of Goliaths with heavy bolters and suspensors and shit in the world. And you know who's going to win.
Well, but that's not what I'm saying. This isn't what I'm saying. I'm talking about escalation. I'm talking about increasing the size of your games over time, right? There is not currently a mechanic for it in this system. So I think that is clearly what a lot of people are into, escalation campaigns, and now we'll be calling them escalation crusades. So there needs to be some sort of user-generated content here to bring that into the game. I have already drafted ideas for it, and I know I'm going to be posting them on Goonhammer at some point.
I don't think it'd be hard, because you already have missions for the various levels of game, from combat patrol level to big 40k
Onslaught,
level. Yeah. And you can just be like, okay, if I'm running this escalation league, this week we're playing 15 power level battles.
Right.
Next week we're playing 20 power level, and so on.
Right.
And you could very easily start with like a big roster of units. Let's say the players don't have. Let's say it's like all new players, and you could start with a roster of units you don't have, and use that kind of as a shopping list, and just kind of build and paint the units in it as you get to that level of gaming. Like, I think this is plenty of room for escalation league type things that don't require that much management.
Right, but what I'm saying is that they didn't include it.
They didn't include it, but I don't really know what there is to do. I'm just like, agree on points levels, same as any other game. But I think also I would not be surprised if we saw some supplement just for like more in-depth Crusade stuff, because they've talked about how there's going to be codex-specific Crusade stuff. So, hey Numi, army relics, army advancements, and so on, which I'm cool with, because I like that sort of decentralized complexity that is not essential to every game of Warhammer, but are to, these ones. But I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Like, this is clearly a system that's going to be expanded from here. It doesn't feel like the redheaded stepchild that was a narrative play in previous editions of 40k. Like, this is going to keep going. And
no, you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah, and I think this is a great starting point.
But God damn it, Campbell, they didn't do everything perfectly the first time.
Yeah, I know. God forbid. But they've got to find some way to sell you another book.
All right, I have 3 more gripes.
Sure.
I'm going to go through them quickly. 1, choosing battle scars and battle honors versus rolling for them. I don't think choosing people's battle honors is going to be fun.
I think you should roll for them every time.
You got to, like, when you level up, you have the option to choose a roll for stuff. If people are just choosing them, they're going to choose the best ones every single time, and it's going to be pretty boring. So I think that what you should do is, in your Crusades, force people to roll, but give them a requisition point spend option to re-roll that dice if you choose something completely terrible.
That's a nice idea.
That, because to me, like, this is a huge problem with Crusade, is that power level is very abusable, and then upgrading things is also very abusable, which brings me to my next point, the rando Crusade game. So you're at the game store, and somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I heard you talking about Crusade. I have a Crusade army. You do too. Do you want to get a Crusade game in? You don't know this person. You're not playing in a organized Crusade with them. Campbell, are you going to play this random person's Crusade army?
Christ, no.
Absolutely fucking not.
Like, I would imagine, like, they might just be someone who's on the level. They might just be like, I've been playing some games, I got these bonuses, I got these detriments, whatever. But more likely than not, it's going to be like, here's my perfectly tuned, like, to my best knowledge, power level based army with all the best upgrades. It has this many Crusade points. Maybe I don't care if you have bonus command points, because my Crusade army is so decked out. I would gladly play a campaign that's organized, whether that's in a narrative event like in, say, Nova or Adepticon, I would very happily play with a group of friends who I know and trust, but I would not play a Crusade game with a rando anywhere.
I love it. It's like practicing safe gaming.
Exactly. It's just
And okay, here's my last gripe.
okay.
There is a fuck ton of bookkeeping.
There is
in
a fuck ton of
Warhammer
bookkeeping.
Crusade. Every unit has to have a Crusade card,
Yep.
which has a lot of fucking information on it. And then on top of that, you have to have your Crusade roster. Also, I bought the Crusade journal that Games Workshop sells. It's pretty cool, but oh man, is there a lot of fucking bookkeeping for this system. And to my knowledge, a digital solution for Crusade bookkeeping does not exist. And that is something I would pay good money for.
Duly
Because it is like, it's kind of mind-boggling how you would need, like, okay, I have, I'm going back to points because it's what I know. I have 2,000 points in my order of battle. So that 2,000 points, that's like for a Space Marine army, that's like, I don't know, 15 to 20 units right there.
Yeah.
So that's 15 to 20 Crusade cards, which are individualized and personalized, and you have to keep all these tallies and shit on there for, all the units killed and all the games they've played and all that stuff. And on top of that, you've got your roster where you have to put a bunch of information down. It's a lot, and there's currently, officially, there's no digital solution to it. You are carting around papers that you have copied from the rulebook, or you're using the Crusade journal, and that's just how you do it.
Yeah. A digital solution would make this much more manageable. There is a lot of bookkeeping. I don't mind that there's a lot of bookkeeping because kind of what I'm signing up for. I think much like the fact there's more complexity here because you're keeping track of all these various abilities that I will invariably forget because everyone's signing up for them.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as egregious as like 7th edition, where you just have like all the rules at once. Like, as I said earlier, decentralized complexity. Like the complexity is unit specific and it's a Crusade. You signed up for this.
Yeah. Okay. So listeners, we gushed about Crusade, but we also gave them a couple smacks
Po Buddy's
for
nerfed.
Crusade. We are attempting to be, what's the word?
Equitable? Fair and balanced.
Fair. Fucking take it easy there, fella. Equitable works. We're attempting to be equitable with our thoughts on Crusade. Two things. We want to hear about your Crusades. Contact. I almost said Crusade at 40k Badcast. Contact at 40kbadcast.com. If you're playing a Crusade, tell us about it. Show us your Crusade armies. Tell us about their valorous deeds and all that shit. We would love to hear about it. We would also love to hear if you know any Crusade resources out there.
Yeah, if there's some sort of digital resource out there that you are aware of that's like akin to, say, Yakramunda or Yak Tribe stuff, please let us know. I'd very much like that.
Tell cha boys, we're good to you. Be good to us. Mm-hmm. All right, here's the last thing we're doing this show. We are reading off our winners of the Fartykay Krossfucction Khallenge.
Yes, we are.
And oh my God, Campbell, we've got so many good submissions here. And by good, I mean terrible. There's one of them I hate. It's awful. And I hope you didn't pick it because I don't want to have to hear it again. It's very sexual and it involves you and me personally, and I don't like it.
Yep.
But
I know the one.
These stories are hilarious. They are so inventive, and they take in so many different IPs. Some of which I am familiar with, a bunch of which I'm not. There's one called One Punch Yorick. I do know what One Punch Man is, but I don't know anything about it. So that was a little bit of a miss for me. There's another one that has a bunch of the Ordo Weeabus is back, and it's got a bunch of anime references in it that I just don't get. Though I'm sure you enjoyed it immensely.
I did.
But what we're going to do is we've each picked our favorites, and we're going to read them on the show for you, the listener. So Campbell, I invite you, please go first. Give me the title and get at it.
Well, we each chose two ahead of time so we wouldn't have overlap. But based on what you just said, I think we won't have overlap. Watch Fortress Naruto had fallen. The Ordo Weeabus was dying. Sit rep, now! Inquisitrix Cool Hat screamed. Cool Hat, by the way, is spelled with a K, firing her bolter at the approaching Jigglypuffs. I will not lose this station! Her Vox speed crackled with curses and screams from dying men. Breaches across the board! Magical girl containment has collapsed, and I've lost 3 squads to the power of friendship! Commend our souls to the Emperor! The JoJos are loose! Repeat, the JoJos are loose! It's effeminate men and stupid dancing as far as, which one's Marth? Which one is fucking Marth? Cool Hat swore. The Jigglypuff Alpha snarled and went for her leg, only to catch a power-armored croc to the adorable, murderous face. She was running blind, not even sure who or what had overridden containment protocols, but it was easily an Alpha Primus crossover out there. Breathing heavily, Cool Hat broke into a sprint. The nearest secure facility was the angsty mech pilot isolation cubes. Fearing the worst, the Inquisitrix clicked her Vox speed. This is Inquisitrix Cool Hat. I need assistance immediately. Are you overrun? No, ma'am. We're okay, came a relaxed, almost lazy reply. Come again? Yeah, without their big robots, most of these are just kind of dipshit kids, so I've been shooting Evangelion characters in the face. It's kind of cathartic. A shotgun boomed. That's for that batshit ending! Cool Hat drove her combat knife into a Jigglypuff's eye. Finish murdering teenagers, then relieve me. We have a station to retake. They regrouped among the isolation cubes. You think there's a pattern, ma'am? Exactly, Sergeant. These smaller crossovers are just to keep us busy. Think! Which is the most secure facility on our watch fortress? Where would we naturally fortify if we weren't battling anime on all fronts? What part of this station could unmake the entire Imperium were it to fall into enemy hands? You don't mean... I certainly do, Sergeant. Cool Hat took a Voxcaster from a nearby stormtrooper and broadcast throughout the station. This is Inquisitrix Cool Hat, Lord Commander of the Ordo Weeabus. Everyone hearing my voice must fall back and defend Horny Jail. I repeat, all units go to Horny Jail. They sprinted down Corridor 69, then as one ducked into cover. Hellguns priming, each stormtrooper sighted the hallway terminus and the mousy-looking teenager within. The boy turned and Cool Hat cursed. Of course. You.
Who else, Inquisitrix? Who else could have rallied the inherent anime bullshit of the Warhammer universe? Who else could have infiltrated your fortress and unleashed such multi-IP carnage? Who else? Who else indeed but Wade Watts of Ready Player One, the ultimate crossover? Fire! All troops open fire! Hellguns blazed at Cool Hat's command, but it was not enough. Crackling with weebish energy, Wade sprinted at the Imperial defenders. He knocked them aside with the physical force of his dorkiness, and each step he took cracked into weird-ass anime cubes. Wade batted aside Cool Hat's chain nunchucks and threw her to the ground. I will kill you all! Then I will take this station and own all the copyrighted characters from Eastern and Western pop culture. Finally, I will have a personality! Cool Hat grunted. There's one thing you're forgetting, weeb. She aimed the crossbow strapped to her bolter for some reason. Bam! Inquisitrix Cool Hat got to her feet, standing unsteadily above the dying asshole. She caught her breath, then continued. There's nothing anime about Warhammer.
Chills, man. Chills.
Suffer Not the Crossover by Eric Atkinson.
That's a good one. I don't get some of the references, but it's a good one.
That's okay. You don't have to. It's really the shotgun approach to references.
Yeah, no, it's really strong, really strongly done. Thank you. Who is that? That's Eric. Thank you, Eric Atkinson. All right. I got one for you.
All right.
Fucking stale-ass Nutribeans. Crumio Grungalino. Oh, that's a Tarantella right there. Turned away from the cupboards of the rundown HAB unit he'd broken into. Stepping over the broken glass of the window, he tore apart the rest of the room, looking for anything useful. Just a day ago, he and the rest of the fuck boys were the top Orlok gang in the neighborhood. Now that was all gone. Thanks to a damn enforcer crew called the Himbos, the fuck boys were now just reduced to a one man after a ruthless ambush. Crumio Grungalino was now on the run with nothing but his clothes, 2 hits of black leth, and a single half-loaded pistol to his name. Grinning, Crumio pulled open a shoddy lockbox he'd found half hidden in a broken shit bowl, which is my new favorite thing to call a toilet. A shit bowl. Pocketing the measly 12 creds, he decided to get lost before the owners returned. No sense wasting the bullets by putting them down. The alleyway was dark, and an upper-level water main was ruptured, causing a dense downpour. Popping his collar, Crumio only made it a few steps outside when he heard something drop behind him. He spun and fired, emptying his clip only to duck when the bullets started ricocheting off the walls. Wiping the water out of his eyes, he heard the roar of an engine. Too late. A long, curved chainsword cut into his forearm. Screaming, Crumio threw himself backwards, dropping his pistol in the process. His back crashed into something hard, reminiscent of a steel girder. In his peripherals, he saw two massive bolt casings connected by a chain swinging in a circle. The casing slammed into his knee and his leg gave out. Falling to the soaked concrete, Crumio had enough presence of mind to crawl for his fallen pistol. His uninjured hand was pinned down by a heavy foot, and some sort of sharpened pipe cut open his palm to the bone. In vain, he tried to sit up, tried to get away. The soft blue glow of a force staff rammed into his back, cracking his spine and throwing him clear across the alley. Laying half propped up against the corner, Crumio felt large, rough hands go through his pockets and armor, pulling away any intact supplies and even pinching the 12 creds he'd just acquired. His vision cleared to reveal 4 huge shapes standing above him. Ugly, bulbous heads with flattened features and wide mouths, sickly green skins covering unnaturally large muscles, thick plates covering their chests with some sort of massive metal shields attached to their backs. His attackers, soon to be killers, with the amount of blood he was spilling, were all identical, only differentiated by their weapons and the colored wraps around their eyes. "My sons, we must go," a final voice called, rasping over the din of the rain. Standing in the shadows was a small ratling, gray-haired, in a threadbare coat. Crumio Grungalino's last sight was of the 4 massive shapes descending into an open sewer tunnel. The cold-blooded murderers looked back, the orange one shrugging his shoulders before backflipping into the darkness with the final roar of "Cowabunga!" That was Have Pity on the Hive City, Man.
So good.
It's in Trouble by Keaton C.
That's so good.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Fucking Ninja Turtles in 40k crossover. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Fucking here for it. So, thank you everyone who sent in entries. We've got many entries.
Like a fucking dozen.
Yeah, over a dozen. And I appreciate the effort that goes into every single one of them. And I laughed at, I think, every single one of them except the one where we fucked. That one just kind of made me uncomfortable, but I appreciate the effort anyway. But I think we're going to be reading some of these, again, as bonus content. I don't feel super cool charging for it, so it might be like free stuff on Patreon or just released via a regular stream coming out soonishly once we get to it. These are so fun and so funny, and I'm just thrilled to share them with everybody. And again, I thank everyone, especially in this case, Eric Atkinson and fucking
Keaton C.
For
our winners,
our big
our
old
dubious winners
for sending in their wonderful fan fiction. So thank you again, everybody. This has been a ton of fun.
Yeah, we might just be recycling these during episodes for the Factor Fanfiction segment too, just for funsies.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and don't worry, we'll get all of these out so everybody can enjoy them. So let's do some plugs and let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Our Patreon, which we just mentioned, patreon.com/40k Badcast, where we have 3 levels of donation, not donation,
Donorship?
I don't know, whatever, 3 levels of whatever. Patronage, there we go, where you can customize your 40k Badcast experience. We are we're in August now, so we're coming up on a Q&A episode for our Patreon subscribers, which we haven't recorded yet, but we will get to probably next week and get it out before the end of the month. I'm really excited about that one. That's going to be cool. We got a shit ton of questions. We're going to put 60 minutes on the clock and see how many we can get through. We also have the T-shirt store, which I'm not allowed to say because I fuck it up every single time, so I'll let Campbell do it.
It is at shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast. We got a bunch of shirts. I have 2, maybe 3 that I just really need to fucking get to drawing that I really want to get out there. I hope to get some finished soonishly because I do want to expand our broad array of very stupid merchandise.
The Horn Dog shirt is one of my favorite shirts that I wear all the time. I absolutely love the design on that one. It's so much fun. And I think that you, dear listener, should go and pick 1 or 2 up.
They come in a bunch of colors. And aside from just that, you can get at us online. We are on Twitter. Dan is DB_sleazy. I am at BrotherSRM. We post pictures of stuff. We post whatever other fucking thoughts we got. Follow 2 more assholes on Twitter while you're at it. And aside from that, we're also on Facebook at facebook.com/40k Badcast because now that's a real thing. Took a long ass time, but it's there now. And last but certainly least, we both write for goonhammer.com, some little hobby blog I guess we contribute to once in a while. Dan writes the weekly Necro Monday columns. You might be getting looped in on some other stuff coming up, and I just contribute wherever I fucking feel like it. So painting tutorials or the random fucking Age of Sigmar game review sort of thing I kind of pop in for. So check out Goonhammer. It's got good stuff.
It certainly does. And then finally, you can get at us via email, contact@40kbadcast.com. We want to talk to you. We love engaging with our listeners. And that email account is a constant source of joy, thank you, in my life. So please get at us there. All right. It's the end of the show. We go out on a quote every single show. Campbell, spin us a good one, a good yarn, if you will.
We already spun 2 good yarns, but I'll drop you off with a little thread here. Success is measured in blood, yours or your enemies.
Who do you think has more blood, me or you?
You definitely do. There's more of you.
I've got the most blood, therefore I have the most success. We're the 40k Badcast. We're bad at blood, success, 40k. You can too. And we'll see you in the next Blood 2.
Blood 2, the reblooding.